In a shocking new study, our next guest found the number of children born to non-residents for the purpose of gaining Canadian citizenship, also known as birth tourism, is at least 5 times higher than what Canadian officials estimate. Andrew Griffith, former senior official at Citizenship and Immigration, joins us now from Ottawa. Andrew, thank you so much for talking to me about this. Statistics Canada reported the number of births by non-residents was 313 in 2016, but you found more than 3,200 babies were born to women who are not Canadian residents in 2016. So what was the hint that made you realize the numbers were so much higher than what Stats Canada had reported?
Well, the hint was actually reporting coming out of Richmond, BC, where one hospital had more births to non-residents than the country combined. So that told me that the stats were definitely wrong and told me that there must be better stats. And so what I looked at were the stats that were available from hospitals, their financial data, who comes and gives birth, who is a Canadian who's paid by Medicare, and those who are non-residents who pay for themselves.
Andrew, the data from the government, Stats Canada, showed the number of births by non-residents had decreased since 2012, but we have a graph with your data as reported by the Canadian Institute for Health Information, and it shows the number of births are steadily increasing. How did you obtain all of this data and compile it like this?
Well, I asked for a time series because I was really curious in terms of knowing whether this was an increasing trend, a stable trend, or a decreasing trend. Now, the Stats Canada data basically suggests it was roughly stable. The data I had from hospitals using their financial coding data indicates that it clearly is increasing steadily year over year over the past 8 years.
Andrew, based on your data, the federal government is now actually studying the issue of birth tourism. So what are some solutions to help combat the problem?
Well, yes, there are different options, of course. The one option, which is probably the clearest, is simply to change the Citizenship Act to only grant birthright citizenship to those who are born of Canadian citizens or permanent residents. But that requires significant costs and significant operational changes. And so other options which are probably easier to accomplish in the short term are things like making it grounds to refuse a visa if a woman is coming to Canada with the express intent to give birth in order to obtain citizenship for her child. And the other option that could be considered as well is making it simply more expensive for women who come to Canada for that purpose, and ensuring that they have travel insurance to cover any unforeseen costs, so at least Canadian taxpayers aren't subsidizing this practice.
Andrew Griffith, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much for having me.